The views, opinions and information shared during the KCU Services podcast series belong solely to the individuals involved. Any recommendations or advice given during the podcast are general in nature and does not replace the need to seek professional advice where necessary. If you are in need of urgent assistance, please call 000 or the Kids Helpline on 1800 551 800.
The City of Casey proudly acknowledges the traditional owners, Casey's Aboriginal communities and their rich culture, and pays respect to their elders past, present and future. We acknowledge Aboriginal people as Australia's first people and as the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we work and live. This podcast has been recorded on Bunurong land.
Hey Tessa, hey listeners.
Hey Stephen.
So I was out at Casey Fields the other day and I was chatting with Wright and Earl from the City of Casey's active communities. They've actually organised for us to have a catch up with a couple of the Melbourne Stars cricketers.
That's such a good opportunity. How did it go?
Well, it went really well. I'm really happy with how it went and I would love for you to have a listen along with our listeners today.
Yeah, I wish I was there. Play on.
Hello everyone and welcome to Season 5, Episode 1 of the KCU Services Podcast. I'm Stephen and I'm one of the friendly youth workers you will find at our youth information centres here at the City of Casey. We hope you all had a smooth transition into 2024. This is the first of our series of chatting with professional sporting teams that have a connection to the City of Casey. We're excited to have a couple of bowlers from the Melbourne Stars. Welcome Corey Rocchiccioli and Brody Couch.
Thanks for having us. Really excited.
What is the bravest thing you've ever had to do?
Face Brody.
That sounds daunting.
I reckon face Chris Jordan at the SCG, my first game probably.
Yeah, sounds daunting, both of them. I'll pass, hard pass. So, cool. Alrighty, so the next question we have, do you have any mentors that have helped guide you to where you are? And what are some of the things they've done to help you become the person you are today?
Yep, I'd say probably my parents. I think they sort of given me the start that any kid needs to play professional sport. Like without them, I don't think I'd be where I am now. You know, probably the countless hours just growing up. So they're probably the main people, especially when I was a little bit younger and coming through. And probably now it's just a couple of mentors from my club in Geelong and then at Northcote as well. Just a couple of people that have given me advice along the way about my cricket and just a nice sounding board for whenever I need any help.
Yeah, that's awesome. The sounding board is great, but the parent support, that's really, really important too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's very grateful for their help.
And yeah, Corey.
Yeah, similar to Brody, it's obviously the parents give you the leg up. I'm from Western Australia, so in terms of mentors, I've got a couple of people back home in grade cricket that have really helped me get to sort of transition into being a professional athlete. Probably the biggest one at the moment is Ash Shanaga, fellow spinner in Western Australia. He's the countless hours to be vulnerable and humble about allowing me to get better and sort of answering all my phone calls and all my messages. Like for someone, especially in professional sport, that's sort of the spot that I want to take is his spot. So for him to be open and honest and give me the information required to help me get better is something that I've always cherished.
I think there's power in showing vulnerability in that way that, you know, you potentially fighting for a spot there and, you know, I've seen Ashton bowl. He's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably taught me a couple of good lessons as well about how to treat the young players coming through. Like I'm still young, but the young rookies we have at Western Australia, the spinners, I make sure that I'm sort of giving them the same stuff that Ash gave me because it makes us better in the long run, but it also just starts facilitating a good environment.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Can you think of a time that you question yourself or ability? And if so, how did you manage to overcome potential adversity?
Yeah, so I've got a pretty different pathway to professional cricket that what most other people have. I didn't really play any pathway cricket. I was nowhere near being on the scene at 2021. I was playing a bit of first grade at the time. I think I'd been dropped again from the first grade, probably the third time in a year. And I was finishing a sports science degree at the time, and I really enjoyed coaching and sort of the S&C side of things. So there was a few moments there where I thought I'd pack it all in and just go the easy route to be a coach. And then I just sort of realised that you might as well give it a red hot crack. And it's sort of at that point that I sort of I funnily enough, started performing really well in first grade. So it was sort of like a sliding doors moment. I could have stopped and sort of followed my pathway of my studies, or sort of continue on trying to be a professional athlete, especially at the time, having no state underage stuff. So yeah, that was probably the sort of the biggest challenge that I had, sort of getting to where I want to be, where I am now.
So Corey, you had like, you threw everything at it and it wasn't going your way, and then it was like, you know what, if it happens, it happens. And, you've got that fallback as a coach. I love that. Yeah. And it just fell into place.
I think it's important to sort of have those sort of studies and sort of the other backgrounds as a professional cricketer. I think now that when you go home and you have a bad game, you sort of don't get consumed by it. You sort of know, I've done more studies after the sports science degree, and it's just knowing that I've got other avenues outside of cricket makes me realise that cricket's it's not the be all and end all. So if I was to get injured or not perform as well, I know that I'll find a job that'll be able to look after my family when I'm done and retired. So that's probably the biggest one that sort of makes me relax and sort of put less pressure on myself, which is something as professional athletes, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, whether it's internal or external from the media or other people like who talk to you in the streets. Like the more fame you get, the more people that sort of want to give you random advice. You'll go from all of a sudden your parents giving you advice to bloke down the street reckons he can give you advice. You roll up to a club game, he reckons that person thinks they can give you advice. So sort of having that outlet allows me to think about the game a little bit less and sort of take that pressure off myself.
I love it. It's great. And Brody, and how about yourself?
There's definitely been a few times where I've questioned myself and my ability. I think last year I lost my state contract, so that was a little bit of a blip in the road, if you could say. But I think like naturally as a young person, it's pretty easy to get caught up in the negative, and very rarely does anyone's career not have a couple of blips in their road. A lot of the time it's a lot of ups and downs, and you just sort of got to bring yourself back to the present and keep trying to think about what you're doing and trust the process and trust that what you're doing is going to work and going to be beneficial in the long term. And I think similar to Rock, you got to have those places and the people that you can switch up with outside of the game as well, because it can consume you at times if you're really thinking about it too much. I know for me, like I love my fishing, so whenever I feel like I need to get away for a bit, I'll head out on my boat and switch off. But then that sort of allows me to really focus hard when I get back to cricket, because I've had that little bit of time away. Then I can come back and I know I can give 100% into it. And then if I'm trusting the process, I know I'm doing everything I can to give myself the best chance anyway. But as a young person, it is very easy to get caught up in the negative stuff. So it's tricky, and you sort of got to find that balance.
So finding positive distractions is really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely helped me a lot to switch off from the game, but actually it's helped me to play the game in a better way as well, and actually have a more enjoyable time.
Yeah, enjoying it is part of the fun. Is a real challenge at that level, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just sometimes things can get difficult, and you do sometimes question your ability. But I think if you're having fun, that's probably the main thing. And then if you're trying your best, that's all you can do. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Do you have any pre-game routines that you must follow? Do you wear the same socks, or do you eat the same breakfast?
Lately I've been eating Special K probably nearly every morning, so that's sort of something I am doing. But it's not really superstition. I don't have much. I'm a pretty simple sort of guy. I'm not too complicated in how I go about it, but I follow my my warm up and stuff pretty similar way. But other than that, there's nothing out of the ordinary.
So they're just a standard routine. There's nothing you have to do. I like that. The Special K, I might have to try that. Corey, what about yourself?
My pre-game routines, nothing to do with superstitions or anything, but I've got it's a couple of pages. So the start of every game, I write down my 6 process words. So for me, process is better than outcome. So if I'm process driven, regardless of the outcome, I know that I've held myself accountable to those things. So I'm writing that down. So I've got my six words. I'll have a little couple of focal points. So there might be something at the start of the game that I'm sort of concerned with, or something that I know I need to keep attention to, whether that's another batter or the pitch conditions, or making sure that I'm doing those processes. And then I've just got a couple of cue words that when I like I'm at the top of my mark, like there's a couple of key words I use there. And then I go into like a 10-minute meditation, and then I stack in a 10-minute visualization on top of that. So basically the visualization with the sports psych we worked with was just doing my best 6 balls. So there's no batter, but I'm visualizing what my run up feels like, how that goes into my transfer, into my load up, and then bowling the ball in the shape that I sort of want. So it allows me to sort of get myself into a really relaxed state, because I found the more that I'm in those relaxed states, the better I perform, and I take myself away from the outcome. Being an off spinner, some days your best ball's getting hit for 6, and you sort of got to cop that. So it's just being as relaxed and as present as possible, and that sort of allows me to do it. As terms of meals and stuff, I try to throw that out all. Try to like give myself opportunities to just do what I want. But as long as I've done that visualization and those process words, I'm ready to go.
That's really important to sort of keep that routine. I'm just thinking with those 6s, does it hurt your neck when you sort of flick your neck around to see where it's ended off?
I'm usually good now. Just I'll look at the floor and walk back to my mark, because I know they've gone a long way.
Not great. The process words, is that something, how'd you arrive at those words? Are they just things that have come through life, or?
So I've worked with a sports psych for the last 2.5 years. At the WAC, we've got a really good one in Tom Parker. And there was the start of my first class journey where I sort of like got picked for the first game of the year a couple of years ago, then got dropped and was 12th man for 4 games. We had a Big Bash break, and I wasn't part of the Big Bash that year. So I spent probably 2 months with him working on that sort of stuff, being process orientated. It started off with a couple of terms we use called blue brain, red brain. So blue brain's the state that you're in where you're in that sort of flow state as an athlete, and the red brain's like when you feel like a duck to water. So obviously the duck looks like it's gliding, but underneath its feet are going bananas.
Yep.
And so I started that off with understanding what my blue brain state was and understanding what my red brain state was, and then I went and talked to 5 or 6 people who had watched me play A grade cricket, 2nd grade cricket, 3rd grade cricket, and I got them to write a paragraph of what my blue brain looked like and what my red brain looked like. And then from there, I was able to correlate them together, and I was able to figure out some words that sort of aligned with me. So I won't be able to name all of them off the top of my head, but the 2 that I use a lot is ruthless in process and relentless at the stumps. So as an off spinner, being relentless at the stumps is what's going to keep me in the game.
Yep.
So they're my 2 that I use a lot on game day. There's a couple of things on let go and be present. And then there's 2 more that I can't remember. The other one is like look to score. It's my batting cue. And then I then at the end of every day's play in 4-day cricket in particular, I just rate them out of 5. So 1 being didn't do them really well, 5 did them the best I could. So it takes me away from sort of the outcome. So I could have a really bad game, but I did my processes, so that's fine. What you find is that more often than not, you do your processes, you perform pretty well.
Yeah.
And then when I've had a poor game, we've sort of realised that 7 out of 10, I'm probably going to perform really well if I do my processes. And if I don't do my processes, that's the 3 out of the 10 times. So I sort of changed my perspective. If I've missed a game where I've performed poorly, I know that the next time that I've got an opportunity to bowl, I've got a 7 out of 9 chance that I'm going to perform really well. So that sort of keeps me on a really level keel. The other one I used as well was probably, as you can tell, I can talk a lot about this stuff.
That's okay.
The other one was when I started playing 1st grade cricket and 1st class cricket. When you sort of start getting known a little bit, you can sort of understand that your ego starts to peak a little bit, and you sort of started treating people like different ways. And the one rule I use is after game day, the next day I like coffee. I go into a coffee shop a lot. So good day, bad day, indifferent day, I treat the person behind the cash register exactly the same. So I say thank you, use my manners, I ask my coffee politely. And that sort of keeps me on a level keel. So that's just not like the coffee shop, it's my girlfriend, my family, like people I meet in the street. Like I'm no bigger than them just because I've had a good game, and that sort of keeps me level and sort of in that sort of good mindset. When you're playing Big Bash cricket, couch, you'll be able to say the same thing. Like you play in front of 40,000 people the next day, like you come down from that, like you actually come down like physically and emotionally, because you've just peaked yourself up, and you really do think you're God's gift to the world at times. So you've got to find ways to bring yourself back down. So those process words and those sort of key triggers is something that I've made sure that I do every game.
Yeah, as a bowler, I was thinking Do you still get excited when you take a wicket? But in front of 40,000 people, must be really hard to hold that in when you take a wicket.
Yeah, I celebrate if I'm playing grade cricket. So you can imagine you stack 40,000 people there. I'm a really excitable person, and I celebrate in the nets as well. So there's a lot of celebration that goes on, especially as an off spinner.
I love it. It's great. You're doing your self-assessment there. That's fantastic. It's, you're not too harsh on yourself. You've got to hit these targets. It's great hearing the coaching side of a player for themselves. I love that. That's great. This is a tough one because I know how much you love the sport you're in. If you weren't playing cricket, what would you see yourself doing?
Well, I was a Carlton supporter growing up, and I still am. So, if I wasn't playing cricket, I would have liked to hope that, or wish that I was playing for Carlton, but obviously that's not the case. Yeah, I don't know, actually. It's tough. I think I'd be studying. I'm studying at the moment. Yeah, I think I'd just be studying, might have some part-time work if I wasn't playing. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Hopefully a lot of fishing if I wasn't playing.
And quietly, as a Stars fan, I am glad that you're not playing football for the Blues. I'm happy you're playing with the Stars. And Corey, what about yourself?
In terms of another sport or just general life?
Just, I guess, general life or sport. What?
If I was two parts. So if I was playing sport, I'm probably going to try and be on the Tour de France. I love my bike racing, so I think that's that'd be something I'd love to do. I'm probably not the best frame or weight for that at the moment, so I'd have to drop a few kilos. In terms of life, I just love to. I'm doing an MBA at the moment, so Master of Business Admin on top of my other couple of degrees. So I just love the idea of owning my own business, whether that's a coffee shop or a bike shop or something like that, and connecting with the people that walk through the shop every day, and being able to help other people get through their life, so the casual employees, help them grow. So, yeah, something like that would be pretty cool. I'd probably still play fourth grade cricket though, because I do like cricket a lot.
Corey, you sound like a youth worker, my friend. We might need to sign you up. That'd be great. Also, the coaching too. You did mention that earlier, didn't you? So,
yeah, I enjoy. To my detriment, sometimes I enjoy watching other people get better a bit too much. So sometimes I force them to. I sort of see the good in them, and sometimes they don't want to come with me. So I've got something I've had to learn to control.
Yep. So do you have any advice for any young people looking to turn sport into a profession?
Probably for me, definitely when I was growing up, I just wanted to enjoy the game. I think as a young player, it's pretty easy to put so much pressure on yourself if you're trying to make it. I think until you get to that 17, 18, when you maybe have to make a bold choice about what you really want to do, I think it's just important to enjoy the game. And then I think once you get to that point, if you really want it, I just think you got to throw everything at it as much as you can at least, and just give it everything basically. Still have your balance and still have things that you can switch off and go to outside of the sport. But I think that'd be the main thing. Just, don't leave a stone unturned. Just have a red hot crack and try and give it as much as you can.
Being a young person too, like you still have opportunity afterwards if you don't get to that level, right?
That's right. There's so much time, I think. And yeah, that's probably something I'm learning as well, is it's not going to happen really fast, or it can, but it very rarely does, to be honest. It's sort of something that you just have to keep chipping away at, and probably try and understand that not everything's going to be perfect. If you stick at it and you keep working hard, then usually things will turn. Especially if you've got the talent and you've got the work ethic. I think they're two things that will help you go a long way.
Cool, thanks, Brody. Corey,
letting Brody go first so I can expand on it. The biggest one is write your goals down. Write them on a piece of paper, scrunch that piece of paper up and throw it as far as you can away from you. Because I reckon sometimes when you write your goals down, you get so fixated on being in that goal state that you sort of lose the ability to enjoy the moment, and you lose the fun of playing. So whatever sport that is, or whether you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, like wherever you want to be, that's great. But like come back down to the present and sort of really enjoy that. Don't get sucked into the sort of Instagram stuff. Like social media is really important for this day and age. Like you're not going to be able to escape that. But what you can get really good at is allowing to understand that that's sort of a highlight reel of someone's life. So they're going to have bad days too. So make sure that you're okay with having bad days and don't get fixated on the 18-year-old that if you're 18, the 18-year-old that's already playing AFL footy or cricket or cycling or whatever, making sure that you just sort of realise that your journey is not their journey and be able to come back down to that and sort of really just align back with why you play the sport. I think that's the one thing that sort of allowed me to grow really quickly in the game is understanding why you play. And it's also a vehicle for life. Any sport that you play is a vehicle for life. You're going to learn things in sport that you can transfer into other jobs, you can transfer into your relationships. So just being really enjoying that sort of aspect of it and sort of being okay with not making it sometimes allows you to make it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, you said that earlier, didn't you? Where it's sort of, if it happens, it happens. And yeah, I love that too.
As long as you're, like Brody said, like as long as you're actually committing to it, and you can look, the only person you can convince is yourself. So if you're looking yourself in the mirror and saying that I'm giving it a red hot crack, that's the only person you have to convince. And that's the only person that you can really truly look in the mirror. If you're lying to everyone else, you know you're going to be lying to yourself. So leaving no stone unturned and actually working really hard on it is probably the first thing you have to do, and then the other stuff comes later.
And you're honest to yourself. And if you're not working hard enough, you've got to pick that up. And enjoying the game. I love that. That's great. Yeah, well, this comes to an end with the questions. So thank you, Corey, and thank you, Brody, for coming in.
No worries at all. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Wow, that was pretty good to listen to. I think I did get some takeaways from it that honestly I wasn't expecting, because I do like playing sports, but I don't get into it that much, if I'm honest, like watching it. So I guess I got that there's actually a lot of self-care and mental health, like well-being, that at least those two guys did, which was pretty cool. A lot of self-awareness to make sure they're taking care of themselves, and also just to not take yourself too seriously and know that even if something didn't go right on that day, it's okay. There's still another day and there is still a future. Even if something that you did have your heart set on doesn't work out, it's okay.
Absolutely. The processes that Corey talked about, that's his way of working out whether he's performing to his best. And it's not just about numbers or stats. It does just show that even at that level, it's really important to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely agree with you, Stephen.
So yeah, well, again, I'd just like to thank Corey and Brody for their time. I took a lot out of it, and I hope the listeners, enjoy the podcast and have something to take out of it too. If you have any questions, please feel free to message us on Facebook, Instagram, or look out for a question box in all of our youth centres. All appropriate links will be attached to the show notes. To stay up to date with all the exciting things happening in KCU Services, please feel free to follow, like, and share us on social media accounts at KCU Services.
And please feel free to come into our youth centres, which are open from Monday to Friday, 1:30pm to 5:15pm, with special extended hours for our Hampton Park Youth Centre. If you'd like more information, please check out the City of Casey website.
And until next time, take care and stay safe.